Les decía hace unos instantes que iban a pasar gente, ya lo ha pasado y todavía nos queda por pasar gente muy, muy importante. Esa es la fuerza internacional de OAFI, por eso este es un congreso internacional. Ya estuvo el año pasado con nosotros en el precongreso y realmente fue un auténtico éxito. Es una autoridad mundial y nadie mejor que nuestro presidente, el doctor Josep Vergés, para presentarla y hablar con ella. Doctor Vergés, cuando usted quiera.
Muchas gracias, Ricardo. Es realmente un placer presentar a Nathalie Bere, que es la responsable de toda el área de pacientes de la Agencia Europea del Medicamento, ¿no? I will speak in English. Well, we have a great pleasure to present Nathalie Bere. Nathalie Bere is responsible for all the patients in the European Agency of Drugs, in the EMA. It's a great pleasure, and I appreciate that you stay for the second year here. The last year, as Ricardo mentioned, you were present in the pre-congress meeting, that it was very successful, and you know, and we are happy that you stay with us. No, you know, the speech is highlights of COVID-19 and how the European Medicine Agency is contributing to the urgent development of vaccines and treatments. I can explain a little bit the CV from Nathalie Bere. Nathalie has been working with the European Medicines Agency since 1998. That means he's working for a lot of years in the EMA. Is currently responsible for its engagement with patients and consumers. Patients bring specific knowledge and expertise from the real-life experience of the condition and its treatment to the scientific discussions, and their contribution have led to better regulatory outcomes. Over the years, she has been dedicated to testing and implementing opportunities for the inclusion of the patient's voice in all aspects of the regulatory life cycle of a medicine. As a steady increase in patient engagement from the EMA has been observed, Nathalie will look to the further strengthen these activities and ensure they are fit for purpose and in evolving health landscape. Nathalie holds a Master in Public Health from the University of East London, and he's a Bachelor of Science in Physiology. You know, a great pleasure, you know, to be here, and when you want, you can start it, Nathalie. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for this kind introduction, and it really is a pleasure to be here again this year. And I can only start by saying, of course, you know, for the European Medicines Agency and for me personally, it's very important that we all work together. So the patients, the healthcare professionals, the regulators, everyone involved in helping ensure that we can be as healthy as possible. The best is that we all work closely together. So today, of course, it's a slightly different presentation because now it's going to be about COVID-19 and how the EMA is contributing towards trying to tackle this pandemic. So as we are all very well aware that the pandemic obviously has very devastating effects now, not only for the health of unfortunate people, but also social and economic impact as well. And at the moment, we don't yet have any vaccines that are authorized to prevent any of these coronavirus infections. So really today, the key challenge is that we can develop and approve as quickly as possible safe and effective vaccines so that we can protect everybody. And until this happens, in the meantime, we have to also look at trying to find effective treatments that then can manage the COVID symptoms and try and reduce deaths. So at the moment, I'm sure you are also aware there are huge worldwide efforts ongoing to try and develop these medicines and vaccines so that we can make them available as soon as possible. And we actually have some vaccines that are currently undergoing clinical trials, and the EMA is already looking at some of the data that is coming out of these clinical trials. Now, we have to be sure, of course, we need these treatments and vaccines very quickly, but we also have to make sure that they are properly tested and that they meet the same high standards as every other medicine. So they have to be safe, they have to work, and they have to be good quality. So as regulators, it's our role and responsibility to only approve any vaccine or treatment if we are sure the benefit is better than any side effect or potential risk, and that is our role. So no matter how important it is to get it there quickly, we have to make sure that it's safe as well. Now, EMA is contributing to try and speed up the normal process that we have for assessing and authorizing medicines. So you will see in the next slide, I will explain how we are doing this. But also we have established what we call a pandemic task force. And this is where we have all the relevant people together so that we can discuss the latest developments in these medicines and have quick coordinated regulatory action. Again, it's about working together and sharing information and knowledge. So I won't go into too much detail here because it's a bit regulatory, but just to show you that, you know, EMA offers advice to the pharmaceutical companies who are developing these vaccines and treatments. And normally it takes a little while and normally there is a fee, but for COVID development, we are offering this advice for free and we will do it much quicker. So we reduce it to 20 days instead of 40 or even 70. And also when we have to look at for the pediatric population and compliance, again, we do this quicker than normal. Also, we have established a system called rolling review. And this is where EMA is already looking at the data coming out of the clinical trials even before the pharmaceutical companies will submit it as an application. This means that when and if the company submits it as an application, we will be able to assess and do the assessment procedure quicker than we would normally do, so that again we can try and make sure we can get these medicines and vaccines out to you as quickly as possible. Also as well, we will make sure that this is information for these vaccines and medicines is translated into all the languages of the European Union as quickly as possible, so shorter than normal. And of course, the European Commission, who makes the final decisions, we make sure they are up to date on the latest news and updates so that they can also be ready to act very quickly when they have something to approve. And finally, of course, it's very important that EMA and the regulators, we give everybody, the patients and healthcare professionals and the public, up-to-date information on what is ongoing, what we are looking at, and what is coming up in terms of vaccines for the COVID-19 treatment. Now, one key element is, and this was mentioned earlier, that it is really critical to have stakeholder engagement, and patients play a key role there. We need to understand from you as well if you will be taking these vaccines or participating in the clinical trials for the COVID vaccines, what it is like for you. We want to know what your views, what impact it would have for you. So again, very important that we can call on you whenever we need to make sure that we do this hand in hand together. And we have established a network of patients and healthcare professionals where we can quickly call upon them and get them involved. And this network is always open and welcomes more people if anybody's interested to join. We even have a small pool of people who have already had COVID themselves, and they are willing to come and then share their experience with EMA as well. So again, very relevant to have this kind of information. And again, about the communication, that it's key to make sure that also EMA can make sure that there is trusted information out there, that people can understand if they go to EMA, they can trust the information we are sharing, because sometimes, unfortunately, there is false news or false information about potential vaccines or things like that, which is not necessarily true. And so we need to make sure that the public and the patients have available to them this reassurance of a reliable source of information. And this is where we look for the patient organizations to disseminate the information out to you. I don't seem to be able to go. Yeah, there we go. So just to summarize, the key challenge for everybody is to try and develop and approve safe and effective medicines as soon as possible. We will try and make this as quick as we can from our side by reducing our approval times and the information we give and the advice we give. We work in a big EU-wide regulatory network to make sure we share information. And this even goes international. You know, we have this board called the ICMRA, which is with all the other countries as well. We work with WHO, with FDA. We need to make this a global work together so we can get it much quicker. And again, EMA really welcomes to work with you. Thank you so much for your time.
Perfect, Nathalie. I appreciate it's a very nice talk, very clear, and elegant. Thank you very much
Thank you.
for your presentation. No? It's very useful for patients to clarify and these topics, no, that are very important. No? I have some questions to you. Is that one is, for example, how the patients can get involved with the EMA. How is the procedure? What is how they can do it to be involved in with the European Agency of Drugs?
Yes, of course. Well, like I said, we really welcome patients to register with us because we can never have enough people in our network to reach out. So I can send also afterwards a link. We have a very short registration form. It's on our website. You just have to click to a form and you let us know what kind of experience you have, what you would like to be involved in, whether you would like to come to EMA meetings, whether you would like to review perhaps the package leaflets, to make sure we are writing it in a very patient-friendly way. There are many different ways that EMA engages with patients on sometimes discussing the medicine we are evaluating, but also on, like I said, the package leaflets, or maybe we would do a focus group on a particular condition to understand better what it's like for you living with the condition, what things are you looking for in a new medicine, what things are your unmet needs that you have on a day-to-day basis. This is why we need you. So I would really recommend that you can register with us and let us know if you would like to be involved and how you would like to be involved.
Perfect, Nathalie. At the same time, as you know about the COVID problem, if patients we would like to have more information about COVID, is the same procedure. They can ask to the EMA.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. So there are two ways really. I mean, you can either just go to EMA website and you can see on the front page, there is something saying what's new for COVID. So you can look there, but also when you complete the registration form, in there are just some tick boxes. So you can say, yes, I would like to receive information about COVID, or I would like to receive information about osteoarthritis, or I would like to receive information about cancer. Anything you can tick, and then we will just send you information about that particular thing. So we make sure we are not sending you things you don't want to know. But then you will be sure to have the latest information directly into your inbox.
That's very useful information because, we receive a lot of questions about patients during the COVID problem, no? And I think probably not all the patients know that. That means that it's a very useful information that patients can ask, to have information and everything. I think this is very useful information, no? And Nathalie, as we have a little bit, we have time.
Yeah.
The questions that probably people ask to you is about the vaccine. What do you think that could be the vaccine approved at the first? Do you know something, or difficult to tell because probably nobody knows exactly, no? But what is your impression, Nathalie? That will be maybe in the if works, of course, no? If works, because in my knowledge there are at least five in the world, 5 or 6. Because I am following the phase 3 clinical studies, no? Mm-hmm. But there are 5, 6 that are in phase 3, no? If works well, and if because normally here in the OAFI we are very positive people. We think in positive always, no? Because sometimes there are people thinking negative. We are thinking in positive. What do you think? If works, the phase 3 could be maybe some vaccine available. Do you have some idea? This is, of course, it's a speculation, but maybe you have more information that other people know.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, there are the clinical trials. So I think we have to say it's very positive that there are already these phase 3 clinical trials. And for some of these, EMA is already looking at the data. So this means it can be quicker. But we have to understand that we have to allow time enough to gather enough information from enough patients that the regulators, so the EMA, can properly assess the data. Because if we don't take enough data, we cannot be sure that it's safe, for you. And that is really important, and that it is at least demonstrating that it's working. It is also it would not be useful for us to authorize something, even if it's safe, but it is not really making a difference to the improvements, or as a vaccine if it's not working. Now, it really depends on many factors. If the current clinical trials, if they keep providing very positive indicators that it is working well, and depending how their recruitment goes, so how many people they are able to recruit, you could maybe look that maybe they could submit, even before the end of the year, early next year. And then you have to think that everybody is trying then to make it as quick as possible. So EMA is making the process for review quicker than normal. The commission will approve quicker than normal. But again, we have to allow enough time to do a proper assessment. It's very important that people, again, can trust us and not feel that we are rushing something at the risk of patients, because at the end of the day, when the vaccine comes out and many millions of people are taking it, we have to know that it is safe as much as we can. You can never be sure something is 100% safe ever, but you have to at least have that level of benefit and risk. We always have to weigh it up and make sure that it's okay. And then, even after the regulator, if we give a positive approval, say would be next spring or something like that, you have to then take into account that it's the pharmaceutical companies then have to do the manufacturing in a very large scale to be able to distribute it to everybody. And again, then there is the distribution as well. So manufacturing, distributing, it's one thing to have an approval, but then you need to manufacture enough vaccine. You then need to be able to distribute that in a safe manner as well, so that it reaches every country, every pharmacy, every doctor's GP. So a lot of things goes into this. But I would say and I think it's great that you are all being positive, because I think the key positive, if we can find any about the COVID, is that it really is a global working together. So everybody is doing their best to make these things happen as quickly as possible. So, even the pharmaceutical companies, they know they will need to do the manufacture. So they already are setting up the procedures to manage larger scale manufacturing and distribution and these kind of things. So everybody's aware, and I think everybody is looking ahead to see how quickly then we can do this. But again, it could go the other way. We have to be realistic that maybe the trials don't go the way we want, and then we will look at the next trials coming up. So it will keep coming. So even if the first one, the second one, third doesn't work, we have to be positive that
I agree,
there are
Nathalie.
others in the pipeline, many, many.
And also, I think, Nathalie, because you have 3 minutes, I think also could be interesting that you can explain, for example, in this case, because it's worldwide, all the people in the world is waiting for the vaccines. There are relations with EMA and the FDA and Chinese, for example, Agency of Drugs, and Canadian and others. I mean, trying to become a little bit to be in the same way. Because sometimes it happens for drugs. Normally, sometimes it's approved one drug first in the FDA or it's approved in the EMA, because the dossiers are different. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, there is global collaboration. So this ICMRA platform, and you can read about it on our website. This is a platform where, like you say, all across the world, there are various medicine authorities who get together and discuss and share information, which is also key. In the end of the day, though, we still have to approve the particular vaccine in the different countries. So FDA has to do it for America. EMA has to do it for Europe. Health Canada will do for Canada. So it's not like one authorization for the world. Of course, there will be the different authorizations. But again, everybody realizes that we need this, and they will equally, on their own, work as fast as they can, I'm sure.
And the last question, because we did 3 roundtables in the preclinical, in the pre-congress from OAFI, and it was people from around the world, some professors, and we are a little bit afraid about that as now all the agencies, they are focusing in COVID. Do you think that this could be affected for other, for example, clinical trials, in our case, is that for new drugs from osteoarthritis could be affected? Or what do you think that? Or, you know what I mean? Because we are focusing the agencies, the Spanish agency, the EMA, and all the agencies, the Health Canada, we are focusing in the COVID, no? And all the problems of the COVID. Do you think that could be, this is a problem for other research and development of other drugs, in our case, as we are OA patients, could be affected for the development? Do you have some idea, or difficult to say, Nathalie?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very good question, and it's difficult for me to answer that, but I can say that this is something that is discussed. We are very aware, like at EMA, we make sure that any other medicines approval request for approval that is coming through, we treat it exactly as we did before. So there is no delay or stopping any other evaluation of any other medicine at all. And I would hope the same is for the pharmaceutical companies. They have their timelines, and I'm pretty sure they are trying to stick to the timelines, because they realize, even though obviously COVID is drastic, but equally many people are sick or in need of all the other medicines as well. So
Nathalie,
I think people are aware.
Perfect. Thank you very much for your speech, for your answer the questions that are very interesting questions that affect our patients. I hope next year would be with us here in Barcelona. I hope that means that the COVID is already, in the history. But I will tell you that thank you for our patients' perspective, from OAFI. We appreciate, and thank you from my heart the time that you are, sharing with us, because this information is so useful for our patients. That means that thank you. And if you need something from OAFI, tell to us, because with a good pleasure can collaborate with you and the EMA, that normally we collaborate with EMA or the FDA or Health Canada, but thank you very much. I appreciate, and it's very useful for your speech. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And I would like to thank you for inviting me. It is my pleasure, and I hope the information is useful, and I wish you a good Congress for the rest.
Thank you very much, Nathalie.
Thank you.
See you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.